This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Well, this is a first. It is a Thursday night prime time edition of the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us here as part of your day. Me and Jeremy we're literally taking like the first 3 innings off here, the Field of Dreams game, as his Cubs take on my Reds in a game that literally does not matter. And if they weren't playing in corn, no one would be watching. Jeremy, if there was like a wrestling version of the Field of Dreams game that WWE or AEW could do, right? Like, what do you think that would possibly be? Like, it would have to be the triple cage from Ready to Rumble, right? Like, that would have to be it.
I don't know, man. Like, are we talking location or gimmick?
Location, gimmick. I mean, there's not a lot of pro wrestling movies if you really think about it. I mean, like Ready to Rumble is like our the holy grail.
The Wrestler, so maybe a bingo hall and
Randy the Ram. What was his last name? Randy the Ram. What? I don't even know.
Oh man, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
I know, it's been a hot minute. I remember Marissa Tomei. That's about all I remember from that flick, to be completely honest with you. But SP3 will be joining us here in just a couple of minutes. So we're gonna have a triple threat match, a trios match, shall we say, here tonight, because we're gonna be talking a lot about that trios tournament, which wha-bam! There it is.
There it is.
In all its glory. That is a very, very interesting bracket. And might there be a dark horse? Might I be playing on words there? Because Hangman Adam Page is not going to be in this tournament. Instead, he is going to be in the Dark Order's corner. I find that very, very interesting. Kris Statlander, unfortunately, is going to be out for the foreseeable future with yet another knee injury, which really sucks for her. It sucks for whatever AEW's plans were for her, and it sucks for the fans of Kris Statlander who are ready to see her kind of break free there. So what happens now with Kris Statlander out? She seemed to be getting primed for a world title shot. We'll talk about that. Can Triple H keep that sweet surprise train rolling? We have had Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, Dexter Lumis. We already got rumors of another former SmackDown star that's supposed to be backstage tomorrow night. I don't know what day it is anymore. And we're getting new reports on Bray Wyatt. Nothing concrete, but some pretty damning things as far as why Bray Wyatt did not work out in WWE and why he could potentially make his return to the E now that Vince McMahon is no longer in power and Triple H is calling the shots. And I feel like there's something else I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, CM Punk returned last night on Dynamite, and we got that confrontation straight up with Jon Moxley, the man who was forged in Cincinnati, Ohio, baby. What a fantastic scene last night, Jeremy. First off, a great main event between Jericho and Moxley. And boy, that got bloody fast at the end. That's another thing we're going to bring up here on today's show. But my goodness, a great ending. Then we get the gang wars that AEW has become famous for. But then Punk absolutely cleans house last night. And I loved his approach down to the ring, his work smarter, not harder approach, where it's like clothesline, punch. Let me just duck out of the way. Let Sammy Guevara take himself out. And then I'm going to get in the ring and start whooping some ass. That was a great scene last night. And that, shall we say, it was quaking by the lake last night.
A lot of people are expecting either Punk or Omega. Nobody, everything was tight-lipped. And apparently, according to Sean Ross Sapp, the backstage, they had a secret location, a no-go zone. So they were hiding Punk there, apparently. It was a cool moment to hear the music, man, because, every once in a while we hear that cult of personality as a surprise. We heard it 11 years ago when we thought he had left the company. And it played in WWE for the first time. Last night was a very good surprise and sets up one hell of a main event for All Out.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be where we're going. A date between Jon Moxley and CM Punk to unify the AEW World Championships. And we're going to dive into all of that tonight and so much more as we wait for SP3 to arrive. Got to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting to props and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today or use your mobile device. Let's be honest, you're on the damn thing anyway. Join today. Make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50, that is BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. We do appreciate everybody who is joining us here tonight. What is going on, Safet? What is going on, Steven and Sam and Simon and everybody who is in the chat? Chase, what is going on here, guys? We appreciate everybody who's joining us. If you're new to the show, thank you so very much. We do appreciate the support. Make sure to pound the thumbs up button. Make sure to pound that subscribe button. And yeah, that really helps drive up our audience. We're up to 412 subscribers, and we continue to grow every single day. If you have not checked it out yet, check out my conversations with Ciampa. Check out my conversation with Bobby Lashley. I'll have one dropping with Damian Priest, all from SummerSlam weekend, coming up here in just a couple of weeks. I think I'm going to drop that on the Monday that Damian Priest gets set to battle Edge in Toronto, which is shaping up to be a huge Monday Night Raw. Tomorrow night, again, I'm excited for SmackDown, but let us start with what we saw last night. Our lead story coming out of the gate here today: CM Punk makes his shocking return on Dynamite last night. Date does appear set with Mox at All Out. And oh, wait, hang on here. Got to do a little quick change of scenery. Quick little change of scenery here. Make sure I get everything right.
There
Making his way, fighting still out of the UK because travel issues suck. It is SP3 here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. What is going on, good sir? How you doing?
Doing well.
Uh-oh.
But good to be here.
Yeah, I was going to say, we appreciate you hopping on. We appreciate slow internet connection aside. I'm sure we'll get cooking here in just a few minutes. We just started diving into the lead story here. CM Punk returning on Dynamite last night. Date appears set with Jon Moxley at All Out. They did make the comment that they didn't know if he was medically cleared, but he looked pretty damn good to me last night. What'd you think about the main event last night? What'd you think about CM Punk making his surprise return? And now we can look forward to Chicago, All Out, SP3 dropping out, of course.
That's what he thought about it.
Yeah, that's what he thought. He's done. He's out. He's done. Can't take it anymore.
Punk was purposely hopping on his leg, saying, "Hey, look, boys, it's fine."
Yeah, everything seems to be good. So, Jeremy, what do you think now as we head here toward CM Punk and Jon Moxley at All Out in Chicago? I know that had to be their hope as they were heading into this, and now it looks like, hey, just 2 months later, Punk is back. Kind of makes me question whether they needed to have the interim champion, but you can't make that bet, that gamble. So I think this is going to work out nicely here with Punk and Moxley.
Yeah, I think it will be. I mean, it's a marquee main event for your marquee show. Of course, you're in Chicago, so it's always good to have Punk back. The obvious choice is probably to have Punk win it, since he never lost it, but you never know. They could go in a completely different direction. It could go anywhere from here.
That's a tough call for me. And I don't think I'm ready to make it yet because Moxley has been on fire.
Yeah.
Like, he has been on an absolute roll. And it kind of sucks because CM Punk was in he never really got going out of the gate. Right?
No.
Like, this was immediately after he wins, he does one match, and then he gets hurt, and now it completely derails everything. But Jon Moxley is just rolling with all the momentum in the world right now. I'm not ready to call who's going to win the match, but I don't even know who I want to win the match. Let's bring SP3 back in here. SP3, we got you now. Your eyebrows are moving, you're shaking, you're quaking, just like Minneapolis crowd last night. What do you think about one CM Punk returning to the fray, and now this setup with Jon Moxley at All Out?
I thought it was a great angle to kind of set things up for All Out. I mean, I think most of us were hoping this was going to be the main event of All Out, but just how they executed it, CM Punk was just blowing the roof off of that Minneapolis crowd and Target Center. And when him and Jon Moxley went face to face, it felt like the biggest match possible in wrestling, not just AEW, in wrestling. I hate to do the comparison, but I'm going to do it. I'm much more excited about this match than Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. I'll tell you that, because this feels like the two biggest stars in the company going at it. Jon Moxley's AEW Interim World Championship reign has been basically superbly done. Like,
Yeah.
although I would say that, Hangman Adam Page had more, meaningful type of title matches where you thought the person he was going up against, whether it was Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and then eventually CM Punk, you always had that feeling that he was going to lose. Unlike Moxley's, matches against like Roosh and Brody King and Chris Jericho, you didn't really feel like he was going to lose those, but overall he's felt like the biggest star in the company. And now that CM Punk, who AEW as a return, this feels like mega stars going at it and two huge baby faces going at it too. So I think that this is a huge matchup that is going to put some butts in the seat in Chicago, as well as get some pay-per-view buys. So I'm very excited about it.
I'm excited about it, one, because I'm a very selfish person and I'm all about me, and I'm going to be in Chicago for All Out. I got
Me too.
the approval. Yay, excited. It's going to be my first AEW premium live event, pay-per-view, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, those aren't PLEs over there.
I know they ain't PLEs over there, but I've never actually seen Punk wrestle live, so I am really looking forward. This is going to be a bucket list check off for me. When he was in Cincinnati, he didn't wrestle, he was just there, so unfortunately I didn't get to see him, but this is going to be big. This is going to be a big matchup, and I agree with you, SP3. I'm more excited for this matchup than I would be Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre, because I don't know who wins this. I genuinely don't know who wins this match, and I'm not ready to like even pick who I want to win this match, because I feel bad for Punk. I was talking about this right before you came in. I feel bad for Punk because his title reign got derailed before it even starts. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
Moxley's
And then
run has been perfect. He's on
then,
fire. How do you end the momentum that he's on right now?
But then you got Kenny Omega getting ready to come back, and you're probably going to put him in the main event scene. And we've already had Moxley and Omega. So do you really have Moxley retain there? I don't know.
Omega's not going back to the main event scene. He
don't think so.
They basically set up his story perfectly on this show with the backstage segment with the Hung Bucks and Hangman's prophetic words that the Young Bucks need the one person who has never turned their back on them.
What do you do with Hangman?
Hangman turned his back. I think that it sets up beautifully for Dark Order to go on a magical run, but somehow, some way, each round they have another person from their group get taken out. Like round one, the House of Black takes out 10. Round two, they take out Evil Uno, and then Hangman
goes to the final.
Has to fill in the spot, and we get Dark Order versus the
Look
Elite.
at the rundown. You're getting a
I was kind of wondering where you would put Hangman there at All Out. So that makes sense there, because there was like really, I still had the hope for the Hung Bucks, but obviously you got Omega could go in with the Bucks and reform the original Elite. So it's going to be a wild ride these next. I guess we only got 3 weeks left till we get there.
Yeah, I remember just like a few weeks ago, maybe it was like 8 weeks ago at this point, we were all sitting here shaping it out. It's like, man, wouldn't it be perfect if MJF was the guy to come in and take the title off of CM Punk, and they could set that all up? Now we haven't seen MJF in like 3 months at this damn point, and he is just completely MIA, and we don't know where any of this is going to go with Punk and Moxley, but it definitely is unpredictable. It's exciting. I love this. And I will say one thing. I am looking forward to the promo exchanges between these two.
Yeah,
because nobody brings up history in professional wrestling better than CM Punk, and their promo exchanges were good back in the Punk versus Shields days. They were okay, but Jon Moxley is on a whole different level with his promos now. He's unchained. He can say whatever the F he wants, and so can CM Punk. And this is going to make for some very entertaining television over the next 4 weeks.
And remember that their most famous like promo exchange, it basically was CM Punk, you know, after CM Punk had beaten Dean Ambrose a few times in one-on-one matches, and he beat the Shield in a 3-on-1 match. He basically crapped all over Dean Ambrose. He said that one of y'all are, and then he basically shunned out Dean Ambrose. He said, I was actually talking about Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. One of them is the star. I've beaten you so many times that you're not the star. And now he is the star that stands in his way of becoming the undisputed AEW World Champion. I would love for them to bring up that type of history between them.
Yeah, and I would love it if Punk like actually name dropped him and called him Dean. And tried to kind of lean into that and get under his skin there a little bit. And that would allow Moxley to kind of even further dive into the fact that ain't him no more. He is a completely different cat.
Or Punk becomes an asshole and tells him to, why don't you go have a drink?
I don't know if Punk could do that. It all depends because they're both baby faces. So does one guy turn? Does Punk finally get his long-awaited heel turn that he's wanted to do? The honeymoon phase is still going on. The crowd still loves CM Punk. So there's a lot of different angles that you can go with this.
I mean, personally, I think that, you know, there's a couple of scenarios I could see. I really feel like the hot hand is Jon Moxley. So if I was to be asked right now who I want to win, it would be Jon Moxley, because like Ace said, he's the heart and soul of AEW. But if CM Punk is going to win, I think the best scenario, if he's going to be a babyface and win, is for MJF to attack him right after. And that sets up the big angle for the rest of the year between MJF and CM Punk. But if that's not going to happen, CM Punk turning heel against Jon Moxley, Jon Moxley sets up something very interesting, because you know All Out is going to segue very nicely into Grand Slam in New York, and Punk cheating to win, becoming a heel, could set up Punk versus Eddie Kingston in New York City for the AEW World Championship. And Punk as a heel against Eddie Kingston, we heard him say some stuff to Eddie the first time around when he's a babyface. Imagine Punk as a heel with 2 weeks to build up a big match with Eddie Kingston. I'm here for it.
Yeah, man. Well, Eddie got that nice yellow shirt all bloodied last night too, man.
Everybody got bloodied last night.
I saw a theory. It was like you could bring MJF back and have him in Kip Sabian's gimmick. So he's got the box over his head. And so you think it's Kip at ringside, and then all of a sudden he attacks whoever, and it turns out to be MJF.
Possibly. I'm kind of at the point where I'm not going to believe MJF's coming back until I see him on television. Like, it's just been way too quiet for way too long, and maybe they're doing it on purpose. I'm not sure, but and that's what's so good about it, right?
Yeah.
Is there's that blurred line of reality. What's a work? What's a shoot? Is it a shoot that turned into a work? What are they doing here? Did they send MJF? Did Tony Khan send MJF home to basically have the crowds forget about him because he was so white hot after that promo, that his own pipe bomb promo that he dropped? I don't know, but that's the fun about it. That's the
Tony will never comment on that situation.
No,
he never has commented on that situation.
But again, it's living the gimmick if it is a work, right? Look at CM Punk. CM Punk was playing everybody at San Diego's Comic-Con, saying, the foot still burns and this, that, and the other thing. And, and then all of a sudden, a week and 10 days later, he's whooping some ass and chucking Sammy Guevara into steel ring steps. And again, everything was just really, really well set up last night. And Chase saying, SP3, you and me are on the same wavelength. I got MJF returning it All Out. Something big is going to go down, I think. I don't know whether it's MJF. I don't know what it's going to be, but I feel like something major is going to happen in that main event. It could be something as simple as a CM Punk heel turn or a Jon Moxley heel turn or something like that. But I think TK is going to keep his options open, and something big is definitely going to happen here. We appreciate everybody who is tuning in so far in this primetime edition of the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Make sure to continue to get your comments in, guys. We'll read as many of them as we can throughout the day. So CM Punk is back. We've seen a lot of people return to WWE recently, and now the hairs on the arm starting to stand up as I even just the possibility of this is making me very, very excited. Report out today from Sean Rossap, Fightful.com. There is growing optimism. I think that's the best way that I can describe it, surrounding Bray Wyatt's potential return to WWE. Now, this is not a report that talks are ongoing. This is not anything is rock solid, far from it. Basically, what this is saying here, it's a very, very lengthy report, but I'll go ahead and read some cliff notes of it here. Fightful Select has spent the past couple of weeks gauging interest from WWE higher-up staff and talent internally. If you thought Vince McMahon no longer being in control was a good sign for Bray Wyatt and WWE to reunite, you'd be right. One talent said that he could tell by last year that Vince McMahon was simply done with Bray Wyatt and just did not like him personally. McMahon would shout derogatory things at Wyatt about his physique, which the talent believes actually stemmed from the fact that Wyatt would often criticize the lack of creative direction that his stories or characters would go to. When word emerged of Wyatt having a bad attitude, that came from those who worked directly with Vince McMahon. There were also several other instances of rumors started within that circle to ease the heat off of WWE for releasing him. Those that worked with him heavily were quick to shoot down those rumors, which aren't worth mentioning anymore. One WWE higher-up said Vince McMahon had reservations whenever Wyatt's name was brought up post-release. Quote, when things were shit, Wyatt would say they were shit, and Vince saw that as very difficult to deal with, one WWE higher-up said. SP3, how vindication, man. Like, that's exactly what we have said for a lot of different talent. Period. After their release, they always, suddenly they're very difficult to work with. As in, if you don't bend over backwards to Vince McMahon's every whim, beck, and call, all of a sudden you're difficult to work with. One of the major points of frustration came from WrestleMania 2021. After months of a Randy Orton Bray Wyatt storylines, things were changed days before the match. One person who worked on the match and story said no one at any point along the journey had one effing clue as to what the F was supposed to happen. The finish was changed the day before. They bragged a surprise. Randy Orton was supposed to lose and have months off. Instead, Bray Wyatt was effectively done in WWE. That was his last match to date in WWE. The one person that we spoke with effectively confirmed there was never a long-term plan by Vince McMahon for the resolution of that story, which frustrated all of those involved in it as it was heavily featured. Another talent recalled that saying that type of thing is why specifically they did not push back on their own creative, because if Wyatt could get fired, they certainly didn't feel safe. That talent has since been let go by the company, Fightful Select reported. While the company does not, or while Fightful does not know the relationship between Triple H and Bray Wyatt specifically, several noted the obvious. It is a completely clean slate now in WWE. If Triple H thinks a talent can help the company or make money, most believe he is largely going to throw whatever issues they had with Vince McMahon out the window for the sake of creating a better show. The talent outside of WWE that we have heard from on this particular situation say that even if they were booked poorly in WWE or Triple H himself, him being in control renews optimism in that sense, as there's been no Vince McMahon over him. One person who worked heavily with Bray Wyatt said, I can't speak for him, but I know I have heard his name brought up. And I don't know if you couldn't, I don't know how you couldn't feel better about him coming in now if you were him. Again, nothing concrete here. Fightful can select that his name has been brought up in WWE Creative about being brought back. Lengthy report there, a lot of information there, SP3, but I'm not surprised by literally anything. I think this is something that we all saw what was happening, and we were able to read between the lines very easily on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of plain as day what was going on here, and WWE has kind of played their card too many times. It's like the boy that cried wolf, when every single person that kind of criticizes that you don't know what you're doing, or you know, they don't like their creative direction. If every single person is difficult to work with, there's one common denominator in that. It's you. it's you, WWE. It was you, Vince McMahon, that was difficult to work with. It wasn't Keith Lee. It wasn't Bray Wyatt. It wasn't Tony Storm. It wasn't all these people. It was you at the end of the day. So that one was pretty obvious. And then it was also pretty obvious that there was no end game for the Randy Orton Bray Wyatt feud. I don't think either time there was an end game. The fact that the first time we got flies on the mat, and we got the House of Horrors, one of the worst cinematic matches of all time. And then the second time around, we got another horrible cinematic match with the Firefly, whatever, burn, the Fiend alive, and then Crispy Fiend, and then Alexa Bliss beating Randy Orton, and then Alexa Bliss inconspicuously turning on Bray at WrestleMania with goo coming out of her head, and Randy Orton winning. It was just all over the place. It was never a coherent storyline. We didn't know the character motivations, which seemed to be a theme with WWE around that time and around that period. So yeah, I think that it's a different regime. Triple H seems to have his head on straight and doesn't have the same issues that Vince McMahon had with talent. So it is very, pleasing for a lot of Bray Wyatt fans to hear that there's a possibility that he can return, but I don't think there's much in this story outside of kind of giving us details of stuff that we kind of already assumed. I can't take this story and say, hey, they're coming back. It's a little bit different than the previous reports that we heard about Karrion Kross, where there was internal discussions and then he pops up the same day as the report. Dexter Lumis, the same thing. And even more recently, PW Insider today reported that Hit Road's Top Dollar and Ashanti the Adonis are expected at SmackDown. Those are different type of reports than what we're getting here. But at least, for Bray Wyatt fans, there's breadcrumbs leading him back to the promised land.
Yeah, and the report said, look, this is hardly guaranteeing a return, as many names have been pitched within creative, either by Triple H or somebody else on the team. So at least we know that there are, I don't want to say conversations, but he's been brought up, right? He has been mentioned. He has been talked about backstage, which to me gives me a little inkling of hope, but it's whether or not Bray wants to come back. And one thing that I do read into this report, or at least puts some credence on it, is even with all of this BS and even with all of the bad booking that Bray Wyatt went through over the course of his entire career, where it just seemed like WWE never wanted to go all in on the guy. Like whenever they had a chance to make him, they just didn't do it. He still was one of the most over dudes in the entire company. Like even when they gave him shit, he made it work. And when it didn't work, like when he got squashed by Goldberg inexplicably inside of like 90 seconds, that you saw the revolution, you saw the revolts by all of the Bray Wyatt fans out there. Like, I can't believe you're doing it to this guy again. The Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins that Seth has talked about with Stone Cold is like, wanted to physically fight Vince McMahon after that was over with. Like all of this shit that they put him through, and he was still over and still one of the top merchandise sellers in the company. The man is a creative genius, and I would love to see Triple H bring this man back and just let him do his thing, whether he comes back as the Fiend, whether he comes back as Swamp Bray Wyatt, whether he's got some kind of incarnation of himself now, this Wyatt 6 thing. Recreate yourself. That's the quote that he's got, up on Start Again, Kid. That's the Vince McMahon quote that Bray Wyatt has up on his Twitter feed right now. Jeremy,
he should have been the guy to beat Undertaker.
I agree. I've said that before. But Jeremy, if let's just say they decide to bring Bray Wyatt back, how would you want to see Bray Wyatt come back to WWE?
I think something completely different, which we know Bray can pull off. And I'm not convinced it's going to be WWE, but at the same time, I think Bray has a lot of leverage to where he could not work as many days and then do side projects, because we all know he wants to do some side projects and movies, and you're not going to be able to do that easily being on the road 300 days a year. So I'm assuming that Bray probably has enough pull to be able to pull off that kind of deal with WWE. So it remains to be seen. But I Bleav it's going to be somebody. It's going to be Bray, but a different iteration of him. I think he's going to put the Fiend behind it because the Fiend died when Goldberg crushed it. So there's no use in even bringing that back. I don't really want to see the Fiend back. I just want to, I want to see another version of Bray, maybe even a mixture of his original character, to be honest with you. Just because the Fiend has such a negative stigma on it. There's just no use of trying to rebuild that, in my opinion. Start off with something fresh, something new.
Clean slate, right?
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the theme.
That word was in the Fightful report. Clean slate.
Clean slate with Triple H and everything, and we've seen that clean slate with a bunch of people who have been brought back. That's what they're doing with Karrion Kross, right? They brought him back, and immediately, boom, he's putting Roman Reigns on notice instead of wearing bondage gear and a gimp mask and getting beat by Jeff Hardy inside of 2 minutes, who was losing to Jinder Mahal on main event the week prior. SP3, I have to agree with Jeremy on this one. As much as a fan as I was of the Fiend. And, I got the Ramblin' Rabbit back there and everything like that. And I'd love to see those. I was actually a fan of the coupling with him and Alexa Bliss until it completely went off of the rails. I thought there was a lot of money there, and I thought they could have done some really, really great things with that. I definitely think there is a large portion of the audience who is not down with the horror supernatural stuff. So maybe a more realistic, badass version of Bray Wyatt would work better because the guy is a great performance artist. I think he can make anything work. And if Triple H is going to bring him back, just let this man flourish and do what he does.
I will still stand by that the Firefly Funhouse introduction and what was it? I think it was like 6 weeks of build up that week before he debuted the Fiend is some best television telling he has done in the past 5 years. I was there live in Long Island for his debut as the Fiend when he first attacked Finn Balor. I still fondly remember his debut matchup against Finn Balor as the Fiend at SummerSlam 2019, but it all fell off a cliff because his second match as the Fiend was the Hell in a Cell. You said Goldberg. I say it jumped the shark in the Hell in a Cell. You make him this unbeatable type of like movie horror monster. There's no turning back. The matches weren't that entertaining. The only people that got good matches out of him was Bryan Danielson, the greatest in-ring performer of this generation, and Kevin Owens, because they just went out there and had a hoss fight. Like that was it. In a 2-year run as a character. Those are the best matches that he had, and unless you count the John Cena Firefly Funhouse, but I don't count that as a match. I count that as just a great segment at a WrestleMania. But that's it when it comes to Bray. So something new, something fresh is the best way to go for him.
Yeah, and they really kind of they made it so obvious with him until he got squashed by Goldberg too, right? Like if he was going to wrestle and lose, it was going to be as the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt, and he was going to come out in his sweater. And I think the only guy he really beat in the sweater was Miz. And I actually love that match because, again, of the performance art of Bray Wyatt. I know it was a more old school match where it was slow, it was methodical. He was just beating the crap out of him and having fun anytime the Miz put him in a submission move or something like that. And I know that's not what today's audience wants. They're all about, they want Takeshita matches, right? Where it's fast and it's hard hitting and it's all over the place. So, yeah, man, they did that Finn Balor demon kind of thing where it's like, all right, well, he'll lose if he's in the sweater. There's a lot of things that they did to really kind of damage the mystique, but I agree with you. They made him way too strong. They booked themselves into a corner. This man survived an electrocution to win the Universal Championship, and then I'm supposed to believe that one spear and a half-assed jackhammer is enough to put him down in Saudi Arabia. The whole thing was just, they never got behind the guy, and I think wash it, wipe it clean, and let's see what if they can bring him back, if they can talk him into coming back. I would hope they treat him like the main event star that he was. Diving into some of the chat here, Safet says Vince McMahon was an asshole for doing that to Bray Wyatt. I can't disagree. Queen saying Bray losing to Goldberg is why I hate Goldberg and Vince a lot. Let's see. Chase saying I have taken friends who don't watch wrestling to live WWE events, and Bray Wyatt has stolen the show for them with the entrance and everything. He was treated as a spectacle when he first got out there. That entrance was fantastic. Him walking down with the Bray Wyatt severed head. There was a lot of mystique and, a lot of folklore mixed into that. And he clearly put a lot of thought into that character. And then, yeah, man, Vince McMahon, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because Bray was fat. I don't know if it's because he fought back. I don't know if it was a combination of all of that. Apparently, that seems to be the case. He's just decided to shit all over actual brilliant creative. And that's one of the things that's one of the main reasons why I have been begging for some new life in WWE. And it certainly seems like we are heading toward that direction. We're going to talk about WWE coming up here in a little bit as we got SmackDown coming up, but let's talk a little bit about all the big storylines coming out of AEW Dynamite last night.
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Steven saying, let him in. I agree. Bring him back. I think that would be a major, major boost. And put him on SmackDown, by the way. Put him on SmackDown. That's where he is desperately needed. Build is probably the top babyface, I would say, right now. So last night, I put out a tweet about this, and I got some very honest and open responses about it. I didn't get blasted for it, and I made sure to let people know it wasn't a critique. But I'm interested to get your guys' opinion on this. 3 minutes in last night, I think it was a record for AEW. The coffin match, which had some spots that I wasn't too wild about. I still don't know why Buddy Murphy just stood there like an idiot and let Sting beat his ass with a bat. I know Sting doesn't get up as quickly as he used to, but Buddy should have turned his back to the coffin or whatever. So looking past that, I thought this was a really, really great match. The finish of it was so damn smooth, with Brody getting choked out by the chain and then falling into the casket and making just enough rock for the lid to fall over. It was a great finish. A little bit of gang wars, but you kind of expect that. I'm looking forward to Sting and Malachi. But there were parts in this match last night that I found it very difficult to watch with the amount of blood that was pouring out of Brody King's head. Like 3 minutes in, he got cut really, really deep. I mean, this was spouting out of his head like a fountain. Jon Moxley in the main event, we knew he was going to bleed, right? The dude bladed his ear for crying out loud. I actually do like that spot with, him ripping out the earring. That was innovative. That was different. Cool. I like that. And then Jericho just absolutely obliterated himself on the turnbuckle. I don't think that was meant to cut that deep, but he started spurting blood like a damn fountain. When it's coming out like that and we're seeing pools in the ring and pools on the outside and you can't chop anybody without leaving a smear of blood across somebody's chest, for some reason, even as a horror movie fan, if it's real, I just have a hard time. It was just difficult to watch at points last night. I'm interested to get your guys' opinion. Jeremy, I'll start with you here.
Nah, I'm fine with it. Hell, I watch GCW on the regular, so obviously
that was a lot of what I got last night. GCW and ECW, hardcore fans saying, "Nah, this is nothing." But again, I'll throw this out there as well here, SP3. It's seemingly like every single week, multiple matches, there's a lot of blood. I think there's a time and a place for it to really hit the emphasis of it, but are they starting to use it a little too much? That's just my question. It's just a question. I think it's a fair question.
Is AEW starting to use it too much, too reliant on it? No, we haven't reached that part, and especially with the matches that we got, and they were both great matches, the opener and the close. The blood added a lot to those matches. Yeah. Now, if the question was, is Jon Moxley you to rely on blood in his matches, then you may have a point there. Then you may have had more people agree with you, because it seems like every time Jon Moxley has a matchup and he's put into a headlock, that man starts bleeding. I feel like I need some of my Mrs. products sometimes when Jon Moxley starts having a matchup, because it goes all over the place, all over the mat, and it's like a Picasso that he's just bleeding in all his matches. This man bleeds us in GCW, where he's the world champion, than he does with his AEW matches. So yeah, if it was just Jon Moxley is this question, then I would say yes. But AEW overall, no, because it seems like they do it in the right matches, which that was the opener and the close last night.
Yeah. I mean, you're still in the run of specialty AEW Dynamites. Your regular Dynamite's probably not going to see it too much. And Ric Flair's retired, so somebody's got to pick up that mantle of getting bloody every match. So now, why not it be Jon Moxley? He'll probably get bloody on Saturday night. GCW Homecoming Parts 1 and 2. Moxley and Effie, where I think actually Moxley may drop that belt on Saturday night. He'll get bloody there. That's going to happen on Saturday.
And I can't get behind the mindset of it because I'm as somebody said in the chat, I am a bit soft. I don't like getting hit in the face. I don't like bleeding. I don't like bleeding. All right. And Queen agrees with me. Blood's becoming a bit too much. And here's my thing, right? I don't mind blood in a match. I think it does add a lot.
I don't know if Jericho's was I think Jericho's was accidental. Yeah.
Jericho's was accidental, but so was Brody King's, because I don't think he meant to cut that deep.
That was a lot of blood.
Like, it's just something about when it's literally spurting out somebody's fucking forehead, right? It's just, I don't know what it is. In that particular instance, I just have an issue with it. When Montez was busted up a little bit on Monday Night Raw the other night, I was fine with it. It just seems like maybe it's just the amount that gets spilled in a match. I don't know. I just felt weird. I just felt awkward watching it. I felt uneasy watching it last night. I was interested to get just to get other people's opinions, because I wasn't that big into ECW. I don't watch a whole lot of GCW. Death matches definitely aren't always for me. So I was interested to get your guys' take. And that seems to be what it is. If you watch ECW, if you watch GCW, yeah, you tend to be more fine with it.
Man, when are you going to be in Chicago? Because I'm taking you to the GCW show, because you need to see that in person, and then you'll change your entire opinion. Like, okay, maybe AEW is not too much.
Get him in the Nick Gage mosh pit.
I was gonna say, is that happening on the Saturday? Because I'll be getting in Saturday, late Saturday morning, earliest Saturday afternoon. So
yeah, it's Saturday night. That's the Art of War Games, which is basically war games with light tubes. So that's what you need to go see.
That's
to
where
kind of adjust your opinion.
Yeah, that's where Moxley won the title last year when he showed up and took it from Cardona.
And I mean this so respectfully, Jeremy. I need your weed supplier if you think Effie is beating Jon Moxley.
You don't think so, huh?
Homecoming. Not at all. So? I'm sorry. If Blake Christian doesn't beat him in Nashville, I don't think there's a blue chance in hell that Effie is beating Jon Moxley for this GCW world title. I think they're waiting for Nick Gage to get healthy, or maybe even if it's going to be one of the GCW originals, it's Jordan Oliver. Jordan Oliver has been picking up a lot of wins. He might beat him, but I don't think it's Effie. After Effie just lost the tag team titles,
he just lost the tag titles.
He's gonna win the GCW World Championship
against
the unstoppable Jon Moxley is the Brock Lesnar of GCW. He shows up rarely, but he always wins when he does. And he's the AEW interim world champion. He's not losing the GCW world title until he unifies these titles with Moxley. Whether he's the champion or Punk is the champion, he's not losing the GCW world title until he drops that title.
No, he's just an established name, so I kind of thought it's a possibility since he's such an established name in that roster. But at the same time, you think about it, he won it at Art of War Games. Maybe he loses it at Art of War Games. And we had a Nick Gage report earlier where he's trying to get ready, but he's really, I think, getting very close to being done with his career too. So maybe he comes back for the final match, wins, and retires. Who knows?
Possibility. I will take you up on that going to that show on Saturday. That's for sure. This will be the first time we meet in person, which is I'm really looking forward to that.
Get some seats by the entrance, so then you guys can do the old mosh pit when Nick Gage comes out.
Jeremy, just make sure. Well, I'll let you know where my Airbnb is. Send us some of your edibles. All right.
All right.
We'll take a couple gummies. We'll go out, get a deep dish, and go see GCW. Unfortunate news last night. It was confirmed on Dynamite that Kris Statlander is going to miss some time again with another knee injury. This is her other knee that she is injured now. She said so on social media earlier today. So SP3, Kris Statlander was in a prime spot for a shot at your girl Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship. With Statlander out, is it now Toni time? Is it Toni? And are we something's going down here between Thunderstorm, which was pretty good tag team, no tag team belts, so maybe now they're going to start feuding over that AEW Women's World title.
Now, you know how much of a fan I am of Thunder Rosa. I'm also a huge fan of Toni Storm, dating back to her time in Progress. I thought that she was a can't miss prospect for WWE before, her run there didn't work out so well. And I was very optimistic about her coming to AEW. But my Lord, was that segment with Tony Schiavone awful. It was just awful. It was awkward. Them not knowing, like, oh, I don't know. How did this come to this? I mean, y'all basically fought like 6 weeks ago at a pay-per-view. What are you talking about? You didn't know it would come to this. You want the AEW Women's World Champion? You are the AEW's Women's World Champion. What are y'all even talking about? Now, that aside, I think I've been saying this for weeks. The match to do at All Out is a 4-way. I need Toni in there. I need Thunder Rosa in there. I need Dr. Britt Baker. And I need me some Jamie Hayter, who's been an unrated MVP for this woman division over the last couple of weeks. They had a banger of a tag team match 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. That's the match to do. Do a 4-way. I've heard people say a 3-way with Britt Baker. I think that, they did the Toni and Thunder Rosa match at Forbidden Door, and it was good. Needed more time, and it could have been great, but I think All Out is the time for a multi-woman matchup. You got Athena versus Jade Cargill for the TBS title. Throw all 4 of those ladies at All Out, and in that 4-way scenario, there is a possibility we get Toni Storm to win, or maybe even Jamie Hayter to kind of accelerate the Hayter-Baker switch. I would love that either way, but of course, I'm going to ride with Thunder Rosa.
I was going to say, Jeremy, do you think that if they do set up a multi-women situation there, do you think that there's a chance they take the belt off of Thunder Rosa?
I think there is, just because it's just felt like a lackluster title reign for
Not
Thunder
her
Rosa.
fault.
No,
Not her fault.
No, but I think it's time to switch it up and try to get a little more life into the division. I think it's been kind of stagnant with Jade just running over everybody and not losing there, and just not really. There's just not any excitement right now in that women's division. So they need something that kind of jumpstarts that. And what better way to do it than change your champion? Toni has been booked very well in AEW, better than Ruby Riott. I don't know if, or Ruby Soho, and I don't know if Ruby's hurt or what, because we just barely see her in AEW. But Toni has been booked very well, so I very well think that she could be the one to win at All Out. I don't think Hayter's going to win, just because I think they're going to start a Hayter and Britt Baker feud. I don't think the title's going to be involved for that, because you got to start having more than one women's feud, and in the upper card there. So
I was really glad to see Athena show up last night and actually get on television.
Yeah,
light a fire under that thing with Jade Cargill, because it seems like they started that weeks ago and then started taking Jade on some detours because they wanted to kick the can down the road without really putting Athena on television a whole lot. She was on Dark this week. She had a really good quick matchup that she won. So I'm interested to see how they ramp this up with Athena, with Statlander now out of the picture.
Yeah, I'm not confident that Athena is going to beat Jade either.
I don't think she will.
No,
but I do think it's going to be a hell of a fight. I think it's going to be a really, really good match. I don't think Cargill's time as the TBS champion is coming to an end anytime soon. I don't think they've really kind of pegged who they want to win that. I think there was a really good chance that Kris Statlander was going to win the AEW Women's World title from Thunder Rosa, because the reports were she was set for a big push before she got hurt, which sucks. So now do they do the fatal 4-way? What do they go there? I'm honestly, I wouldn't put it past TK to put the belt back on Dr. Britt. I just wish she always gets pushed heavily ever since she finally won the championship. He might just go back to his favorite, to his cash cow in the women's division, his top star. I think he should have done a lot more with Thunder Rosa. I said when Thunder Rosa won the belt, I said it was the right move to make, and now she could excel the division far beyond where Dr. Baker got it to, and through no fault of her own SP3, it just hasn't happened. They still don't seem to focus a whole lot on the women's division. Last night, we went right back to the 9:30 time slot for the one women's match.
No, it was
9:15. It was 9:10. It was 9:10. 9:10 p.m. Eastern, because they needed 30 minutes for the main event.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's still a better position than where they've been. And they put on a hell of a matchup in the first hour last week, but the rating went down. So I knew they were going to be back in the first hour this week because of that. They just have to spread out and get better. And I'm hoping with Kenny Omega on the return, this is where, more than Omega in the ring, I think he is most missed when it comes to the booking of the women's division, because the women's division was at its best when Kenny had a hand in it backstage. So I'm hoping his return means more of a focus on the women.
Yeah, there's a lot of women we haven't seen lately. We haven't seen Sheeta. We haven't seen Riho. We haven't. There's a lot of, you got people that do wrestle on Dark and Elevation, but keep in mind, the casual crowd focuses on what's on TBS and TNT.
Yeah,
So,
when I was at the Dynamite tapings, right, they do Dark and Dark Elevation ahead of that. I think there were 3 men's matches, 7 women's matches, if I'm remembering correctly, that were all filmed in that hour leading up to Dynamite. And then we got the fantastic women's tag match that the crowd was really, really into live. I am disappointed though at the ratings, because we can sit here, and I think Dr. Baker's talked about this before. We can sit here as fans of women's wrestling and scream to high heavens that they need better positioning and more matches on the show. But if the ratings are dropping,
yeah, money talks.
What's the argument? What's the argument for Tony Khan to put those matches there? So the fans need to put their own money where their damn mouths are and watch these fucking matches when they are on television. Yeah. Please, for the love of God. There's a lot of talent in that women's division,
which is sad because that was a damn good match a week ago.
Great. It was fantastic live. All right, SP3, you kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. You might have mentioned a name just a few seconds ago that's going to mean a whole lot. I think a lot of people were disappointed by the Hung Bucks reunion tour getting canceled before it even got off the ground last night. But a lot of people started talking about who could possibly be the third man, and it sure as shit ain't going to be Brandon Cutler.
Ooh. Nope, Brandon. Cut the camera off, Brandon.
Landon.
I just want to say it was a brilliant storytelling with the Hung Bucks, because this whole thing started 3 years ago at All Out 2019, when Hangman Adam Page was in the first ever AEW World Championship matchup against Chris Jericho. In the week leading up to the event, he asked the Young Bucks to be in his corner, like they've been in the corner of Kenny Omega for his IWGP Heavyweight Championship matches. He just wanted his friends by his side for the biggest match of his career against Chris Jericho, and they turned him down. And now 3 years later, Hangman Adam Page turns them down to be their partner in the trios tournament, to be in the corner of his real friends, the Dark Order, because the Dark Order had his brow. That is what we call 3 special words that we hear a lot. And I'm going to say it here. Long-term storytelling. That's what it's all about, the nuances. And if you've been following the story for 3 years, that was a great segment that paid off a lot of things. And I like the fact that Matt Jackson explained the whole storyline for everyone that be like, oh my God, I don't want to watch Being the Elite. I don't want to see all those parts. He basically told the entire story within 3 minutes, and it was great for Hangman's response. So of course, the third man, the man that Hangman says they need to team with, the one guy that's never turned his back on them, it is the cleaner, the best bout machine, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega returns next week. And my Lord, I can't wait to watch the Elite versus LFI, La Fraction Inganables. Kenny Omega in the ring with Dragon Lee. They had a banger of a match in AAA. Kenny Omega in there with Andrade, who we also had a banger of a match for the Mega Championship in AAA. Roosh, that is going to be an amazing match, and even better, it can potentially set up in the semifinals the Elite versus Death Triangle, which we've seen them before tear it up on the first show of January 2020 of Dynamite in Jacksonville, or Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Will Ospreay and the Open after all the shit talking between Ospreay and Omega over the last year. I wish that was the finals. Honestly, if the Ospreay and Aussie Open were on the other side of the bracket, I would love this. And I love the bracket in general, except for one thing. How the hell did the Trustbusters make this goddamn bracket? Like, I think with all the trios, I understand Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly are injured. Okay, that's one thing. I understand they just broke up Team Taz, but you're telling me the Trustbusters is the eighth trio? I understand they didn't want to beat FTR. They didn't want to put FTR with anybody and beat them in this trios tournament, but I'm sorry, you could have made up an eighth trio besides putting in the damn Trustbusters.
I kind of wonder if
put in Danhausen and somebody, right?
Yeah, like, I kind of wonder, like, and a buddy of mine told me this last night. Maybe Cole and O'Reilly are okay, and they take out the Trustbusters. You know,
I don't know. I feel like if they were good to go, they would be in the bracket. Like, seriously,
hell, I think the freaking I think the Wingmen would be a better choice than the Trustbusters, to be honest.
Here's what I would hope. After what we saw last night, like, I don't know how you beat them. Give me Wardlow and FTR. Like, right. That's the trio I can get behind.
They don't want to beat their TNT champion and the guys that hold 3 tag team titles. I'm hoping we don't get that 6-man with them and Sanjay and Santum and Lethal at All Out. No, do it on TV. Yeah. I'm all for that, but do it on TV, but don't do it at All Out. And I think that hopefully this means that FTR are going to verse Swerve and Our Glory for the AEW World Tag Team title. So I'm all good for that. I'm all good with protecting FTR and Wardlow, and I totally understand not having them in. But yeah, the Factory, JAS, Gun Club, like they were multiple different.
I have never wanted anything more in my life. Acclaimed Housing.
There was so many other better choices than the Trustbusters.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing against Parker and Arya, and is it Anthony Henry is the third guy? No, who's the third guy?
Slim J.
Slim J, that's right. And but yeah,
I do have a question though here, because I do want to kind of move things along here as we slide into number 4 here. You look at this bracket, and you can kind of tell who the favorites are. Obviously, I think we all expect the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega to make it to the finals. But you look over at the other side of the bracket, you would think that House of Black would be a favorite in this, but they have made so many damn enemies. You got Rusev last night, who's sitting here talking about first off, him telling I forgot her name. Hang
Julia.
On. Thank you. Telling Julia only one woman can touch the Redeemer, and you aren't her.
When I saw a woman enter the frame, I thought it was CJ. I was like, "Holy shit!" Oh no, yeah. Dang it!
I would love it if they brought her in. As many mentions as she's gotten on this, even if it's just for a night.
I'm totally down with her being Columbo's wife. Columbo used to always talk about his wife, and we never saw her. I want CJ. My boys Jimmy Macaram said that on our review today, and I'm totally down for CJ never showing up on screen, but Miro always talks about her.
Just always talking about her. Miro is obviously out to destroy him.
So he could screw the Dark, or he could screw House of Black and have the Dark Order advance.
Sting could screw House of Black, because we still have that stare down. Darby Allin could screw House of Black, because Brody King says he's not done with Darby and Allin after their match last night. But I'm looking at All Out. I'm looking at the fact that they are clearly making Hangman Adam Page a part of this story by being with the Dark Order. If Hangman's in their corner and he's not going to have anything else really going on at All Out, should Dark Order be considered a favorite to make the trios finals here? Because that would set up a situation where Hangman is in the corner in the finals with Dark Order against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. SP3 thoughts here. That they could be they could be like the Cinderella story, like in March Madness, like Georgetown going to the finals, right? Not Georgetown, George Mason, excuse me.
I can totally see it. Honestly, I booked it already earlier tonight that Dark Order, currently assembled, no, I don't really want to see any 3 people out of those 4 versus the Elite in the finals. But if they do a scenario where like House of Black takes out Evil Uno and then they're versing the Trust Busters, because I have a feeling the Trust Busters are making it to the semifinals, which makes me sick. But they somehow can beat the Trust Busters, but 10 is taken out, and you just have Reynolds and Silver left, and they need that 3rd member, and Hangman has to step in, and we get Hangman, Silver, and Reynolds versus the Elite. Now that's a trios matchup for the trios championship that I want to see. So I am all for it.
I honestly, and I think Dark Order kind of deserves this spot, right? Like they've just been there for so long.
Lost so many people.
They've lost so many matches. They lost any and all momentum they had. A couple
down to
years
4
ago.
people. 4.
It would be really, really nice to see him get that spot. And I love that story. It's very simple storytelling. If Evil Uno gets taken out, they're down to 2 dudes, and all of a sudden they got to look to their friend, their best friend, and Hangman Adam Page, and he has to go up against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And man, what if they win? That would be very interesting. I don't think they will. I think this is slam dunk. Yeah. Kenny Omega, Young Bucks. I could be wrong though. I could be completely
TK
wrong.
Specifically said he's been waiting for Omega to come back to even introduce these things. So
Steven saying Dark Order needs this. Silver, Reynolds, and Hangman for the finals. Yes, 100%. Steven also saying CJ versus Julia Hart. Book it. I don't know if I need to see Lana wrestle. To be completely honest with you,
but she got forced into it by Vince, so she didn't want to do it. To be honest,
but she did, to her credit though, she did bust her ass to get better, and she was pretty good toward the end.
What if Bray swerves us and he comes over and takes over for his buddy Brody?
Dark Order says they don't want to. They never wanted to replace Brody. Brody is forever their leader, and if anyone's going to replace Brody, it's -1. It's the other Brody.
That's 10 years away.
That's long term.
That's long term
at its finest.
Let's hope the Dark Order's still around by then.
All right. I can't believe this is actually a sentence that's coming out of my mouth, and I mean it. I'm genuinely excited to see what happens on SmackDown tomorrow night. Guys, final question here before we wrap up. We'll start with you, Jeremy. Is Triple H going to keep the surprise train rolling tomorrow night on Fox?
Well, that's already been spoiled. I think the one surprise that is going to be coming out is Hit Row coming back. I don't think he's got anything else up his sleeve tomorrow.
Who knows? Maybe.
We got, it's like, if Bray is coming back, Clash of Castle is at 3 weeks. There's no reason to put him here. So I don't see any big, and I don't see anything big like Karrion Kross, to be honest with you. So I think it's just going to be Hit Row, like it was reported by PW Insider earlier tonight, and that's going to be the big return.
SP3, you look like you got something on your mind over
there.
Yo, imagine you go to a concert, a Destiny style concert, and you get Kelly Rowland and Michelle Williams and no Beyonce. Imagine going to an NSYNC concert and you get Joey Fat One and no Justin Timberlake. That is Hit Row without Swerve Strickland. That is basically what we are gonna get. If that's the big surprise for this SmackDown, I'm sorry. Like I accepted Dexter Lumis because they pulled off the angle very cool, but at the end of the day, it was Dexter Lumis. So I was like, cool angle, yeah, it was cool. The show, they executed it well, but it's still Dexter Lumis. It's not something that I'm really excited to see. I've seen Dexter Lumis at his best and at his worst, and I'm sorry, it's not something that gets me very excited. So Hit Row without Swerve Strickland. I'm sorry. There's a reason why DX never worked without Triple H. There's a reason that the nation broke up when The Rock got too big for him. I'm sorry. Hit Row on their own is not something.
Are they going to come back as Hit Row either? I mean, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to be.
I don't see how you can.
But yeah, if Adonis
they bring in BFAB, if BFAB comes back with them, maybe. But
I mean,
again, you're missing the A player of the group, which is Swerve. Yeah. So, Queen saying the same thing. I don't really want to see Hit Row without Swerve, and it's not like Swerve is gonna. I think Swerve is doing just fine.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Milli Vanilli, new Hit Row. Stephen Chambers throwing that one out there. Yeah, man, I don't know what they might do. Hey, they do still have Sami Zayn, right? Like he looked like he was going to be the leader of Hit Row, like right before.
Oh boy.
Got let go. They might do something there. Maybe it's going to be Sami Zayn and Top Dollar who beat the Usos for the undisputed tag team championships.
I'm still holding out my hope that KO comes over in the draft and KO and Sami reunite.
And that was my hope, but then it's like you just turned Kevin Owens back into a murderer. He flat out killed Ezekiel, which killed my hopes of babyface Kevin Owens and babyface Sami.
That was
tag title. So I don't know.
That was definitely Triple H taking a metaphorical middle finger to Vince there, getting rid of Ezekiel.
There's been a lot of metaphorical and literal fingers to Vince McMahon in the last few weeks. And if we get Bray Wyatt back, if we get Sasha Banks and Naomi back, I mean, that's about that's biggest middle fingers that he can throw up there. And SP3 just talking about Dexter Lumis. Dexter feels more like the start of something than he does the central figure of anything. Like, to me, I don't know if it's going to be the way necessarily, but I could see Indy Hartwell coming back up and they put him and Indy back together because Index was so popular in NXT. Maybe Johnny and Candice come around and they reform a group of some faction there, and you could have Candice and Indy and add them to the tag team division because God knows you need actual tag teams. If you look at the whole right side of that women's tag team title bracket, ain't none of those teams going to be around after they lose in this bracket. So it's like
not the random number generator teams.
Yeah, I mean,
but maybe Dexter was looking for his wife and he just drove into the wrong show.
I'll be the one to be honest. Indy Hartwell's not ready for the main roster. Based on her last couple of matches, especially that match, the critically acclaimed matchup with Lash Legend, where she slipped on the top rope. I'm sorry, she's not ready for the main roster. I'm just, I'm getting a feeling that right now, green, Indy was the one that looked green in the match. I expect Lash Legend. Lash Legend's at the point where I expect her to mess up, but Indy messed up more in that matchup than Lash Legend. Lash Legend would look like the professional and the one that's been there for a few years. Indy did not. But I'm just starting to feel like the comeback thing is running a little bit dry, or he's waiting till after Clash to bring in some bigger names, whether that's Sasha, Naomi, Bray Wyatt. I'm waiting to see, but if Hit Row is the big surprise, then the surprise is starting to be a little flicker now. And I'm gonna say this one more time. I said this on Monday Night Live on ITR Clips, and I'll say it here. Stop trying to get Bronson Reed back here when he is killing it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. This man just beat Kazuka Okada and made a Japanese crowd that is not supposed to cheer. They're only supposed to clap. He made them roar and then made the Okada fans walk out of the building when they're not supposed to. They're supposed to leave at a certain time. The Okada fans left after Jonah pulled off the biggest upset by a monster on a top star since Vader against Inoki. He's killing it in New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. Don't try to get him back to being Bronson Reed when they never really got him. Even Triple H in NXT, who was the one that did most of his booking, never really got him as good as New Japan got him. So stop trying to get that over.
Yeah, and you can only bring out so many surprises. I mean, you can't do twice a week for too long.
I
Like
don't
they've
I
been
don't
doing.
know, but here's the thing, like, I don't know if this is Triple H just trying to do surprises for the sake of surprises, or he's trying to do something that we've talked about SP3 that he's rebuilding the depth of the roster. Not like everybody he's going to bring back is going to be like these big, massive superstars. I mean, bringing back Dakota and EO, that made a shit ton of sense, and that is going to be a major shakeup in the women's division and are probably going to be your new women's tag team champions. That was something that was desperately needed, but man, how many weeks in a row and how many different like it's been the same shit on SmackDown over and over and over and over for weeks at a time now. So they just need bodies. They just need bodies, and they need to rebalance the rosters. I think the draft coming up in September earlier this year is really, really going to help out, and things will. Once that happens, then I think we can get going. But this is going to be tectonic plates just crashing into each other for the next.
Then with Sasha and Naomi, we talked about it on the last show. You recreate CM Punk and John Cena from 2011, and they come out with the belts and they stare down and do a little pose with the belts.
Yes,
you know, and
that's Sasha and Naomi in the ring with Bailey and her crew control what they need to figure out whatever their name is. I think it's Control. I don't know what to call them, but control your narrative. I don't know what the hell it is.
They haven't decided just yet, but I do think that Hit Row as a tag team is needed on SmackDown, because I was wondering what the hell they're doing with the tag team division when the Usos beat the Street Profits at SummerSlam. So the Hit Row is needed on SmackDown to give the Usos a new challenger.
But at the same time, they ain't going to be the ones to take it off of them. I think the most believable team right now to take it off them has to be KO and Sammy at this point, because they've ran through everybody.
You're not going to get Fetch over. All right. You're not going to get Fetch over. It's over. They are doing KO on his own as a heel. Stop trying to get Fetch over.
That man's going to win a world championship sometime early next year. I think
he's locked in for another 4 years, so he's definitely getting a world title.
Oh, there's no question about it. Like even KO just sitting here saying, "Hey, look, I had to go away for a little while. I'm back now." That man hasn't won a single championship in 5 years. The guy who was known as the prize fighter hasn't won a championship in 5 damn years.
Because he's fat. Just like Bray's fat.
Braun Strowman coming back. I'm okay.
Well, apparently Control Your Narrative's falling apart because EC3 is going to NWA now.
Oh, by the way, there was a really cool story. If you didn't notice that dropped today, I meant to bring this up earlier with Freddie Prinze Jr. talking about, he was going to build his entire promotion around Karrion Kross, and that was going to be him as his champion. And Karrion sends him a text sitting here saying, "Hey, look, we need to talk." And Freddie Prinze was just like, "Dude, sign the damn contract, get the F out of here, go chase your dreams." Freddie Prinze Jr. seems like a really good dude, and I would love to talk to that man, and I hope that his promotion takes off. And of course, you'd want to build it around Karrion Kross because the guy's a freaking monster. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do moving forward. All right, guys, any final thoughts, any final predictions here for tomorrow night SmackDown, or anything else moving forward? SP3, anything? Got any final thoughts here before we wrap up?
Naito's gonna win the G1. That's next week, but I'm just gonna say it here. Naito's gonna win the C block, and he's gonna win the entire G1. I just wanted to mention that, even though Switchblade Jay White is my boss. And for SmackDown, I am excited for SmackDown. Last week was good, and I expect tomorrow to be good. And I've seen a couple of people shouting out, I wouldn't mind Charlotte Flair returning if that's a big surprise, but I have no idea what she's gonna do until Clash at the Castle if they're doing Shayna Baszler and Liv Morgan. I almost forgot her name because she got booed out the building last week. But yeah, Baszler at Clash.
Yeah, I mean, just the product is speaking it for itself. We're now excited for Monday and Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see what Triple H has in store. Obviously, we will probably see, we'll probably get that original Karrion Kross and Scarlett entrance for the first time tomorrow night, and we'll have him speak, probably hear what he's thinking of why he came back and why he did what he did. So it'll be good to see that old entrance back tomorrow night. I'm expecting that. Maybe some surprises that we're not even thinking of because, like I said, we sure as hell weren't thinking of Dexter Lumis on Monday, and we sure as hell were not expecting Karrion Kross that soon last week. So you never know.
Well, what I'm expecting tomorrow is about, I don't know, 2:15-ish in the afternoon. Sean Rossap will put out a report saying something along the lines of WWE's talked about bringing this person back because
They're close.
They're close. They've discussed it. You know, they've had conversation, and then boom, he's on the fucking television screen, or her, or whomever it is. I don't think the surprises are going to stop anytime soon. Triple H wants to keep building up that roster. Again, it's going to be a little couple nibbles, little bit of breadcrumbs here or there. I don't think we're going to see Charlotte tomorrow. I think we're going to see Charlotte at Clash. I think that's the next time that Charlotte is going to show up. Whomever wins that match, preferably for me, it would still be Liv Morgan at this point. Liv Morgan survives because I want that Liv Morgan Charlotte storyline. That is Liv Morgan's white whale. She has not been able to beat Charlotte. Every time there's a career breaking point for her where it looks like she was ready to take the next step, Charlotte knocks her ass down a peg or two. I think that's the logical step to go. And I think Shayna and Ronda make a ton of sense for the women's tag team division, which is why I wish they kind of would have slow played this tournament a little bit and included them in the damn thing. You didn't, obviously the finals aren't going to be taking place at Clash because your eventual champions are booked in a trios match. So, and if it ain't going to be Bailey's group that's winning, who the fuck is winning?
Yeah, it's such an odd it's such an odd pairing of teams and an odd bracket, and like it's all top loaded on the left side. And
I will say one thing. We've had one match in this women's tag team title tournament, and it has already been as long as the entire Queen's Crown tournament was. So progress is being made, baby. DJ, call up Bailey Ray.
Even though it didn't need to be, I'm sorry. Dakota Kai and Io Sky going 50-50 with Dana Brooke and Tamina after they spent the last 6 months running around with the 24/7 title is not the best way to build up the new heel stable.
And I thought the same damn thing, but Triple H is a smart guy. He pays attention and he knows everybody. He knows the fans were pissed off about how long those women's matches went in the Queen's Crown tournament. So doing the first match, having it be a squash, which it should have been, the optics of it, right? Like he was put in a bad spot. He was like, all right, go out there and do your thing and actually have a match. And I think he made the right call in that situation.
Yeah, it was a pretty good match too. So
it was. And I thought Io is going to turn some heads here on the main roster very, very soon. I think Dakota Kai is as well. Looking forward to that trios match at Clash at the Castle as well. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in. Appreciate everybody who chimed in the comments. Thank you guys so much. Maybe we'll do another primetime trios match here soon on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Always like to try to do at least one live show a week so you guys can get in on the conversation. So thank you guys so much. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Make sure to pound that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we'll be back on Tuesday to talk to you all again. So let's enjoy another good SmackDown and another good Raw this week. Another good Rampage. Rampage looks stacked. I don't know how they're going to squeeze all that into an hour. I feel bad for Excalibur, who's going to have to do like 9 promos in like 45 seconds. The man's very, very talented, though. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thank you guys so much.